Welcome to Conversations in Between the Realms, a podcast where the mystical meets the everyday. Join Amanda Nova and Beth Renov each week as we dive into the profound journey of awakening, sharing our experiences, insights, and the lessons that guide us toward our divine purpose. Together, we awaken and guide our souls and others, exploring the magic of living in the 3D while staying connected to the higher realms, embracing the challenges, and celebrating the growth. You've been guided here for a reason. Trust in the journey and let the unfolding begin.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Conversations in Between the Realms. I am your host, Amanda Nova, and my co-host, Beth Renov. We are here today talking about all things energy. And I think we're just going to dive in. We're going to get a little intuitive. We're going to channel a little bit. And that's really what this is all about. So, let's start with how are you? How are you doing?
I think the real question is, how are you doing? I've been spiraling. I've absolutely had a crazy week, like introspectively with my therapy, with the energy, just coursing through me. But yours is a story for the books, and it is, I'm so happy you're okay. I'm going to preface that, but I'm going to let you take it because I think people need to hear this. And I don't even have anything to say because it's one of the wildest stories I've ever heard.
Yes. So, okay, I will tell it. It's so funny because people keep asking me how I'm doing, and I just always want to do the Dorinda from Real Housewives of New York and just be like, not well, bitch. not doing well. Okay, we are not okay. We are not well. So last Saturday is when this event happened, right? So I'm going to kind of give a little bit of the background. So Friday night, I did a channeling experience. Beth was involved in it. She was channeling as well. And it was the middle of the night, starting at 1 a.m. And I was on a call with my friend Jarena, who is also a shaman. So we were all doing this three-way collective channeling in the middle of the night on Friday, because this is what normal people do on the weekends. And totally. Pulling in information and really a lot of what I would call powerful information in regards to our purpose and what we are doing here. And a lot of really intense information that was coming through. And so that was Friday night. Saturday, I was going about my day as normal. I'm looking at the Schumann resonance, which was off the charts. Overnight from Thursday to Saturday, so Thursday night, Friday night, there was a blackout period on the Schumann resonance. And just a little preface, I think we've talked about this once before, but the Schumann resonance is a graph that measures the heartbeat of the earth. So essentially it's the frequency that's happening on our planet and impacts us as energetic beings and as human beings. So there was a blackout period that happened. And then there was a gigantic influx of energy. So all this energy was happening between the equinox, which was on Thursday night, the spring equinox, and Saturday. Then Saturday morning, I'm seeing this blackout, I'm seeing this influx. Then we do this energetic event with Beth, essentially, right? Where we were all collectively got together again. Some of we're calling it, we're calling it maybe our coven, but this is our witchy friends, and got together and were calling in more energy. And while it was going on, because you and I are so connected, you were spinning. I was going absolutely crazy. There was just so much energy at the end of the week. So anyway, cut to Saturday night, make a long story short, around 5 o'clock, I was making my daughter dinner. She was downstairs with my parents, and I grabbed my phone and went to go talk to my husband and tell him, let's go downstairs and get her. We're going to FaceTime your parents. And the next thing I know, I am waking up in what feels like a nightmare. All of a sudden, everything is woozy, and I am, my heart feels heavy. I don't understand what's going on. And there's strangers walking into what I believe is my house, but I don't know where I live. My husband is holding my hand, and I just remember him having the most concerned look on his face, and he's saying to me really calmly, and he's looking at me and he's going, "You had a seizure. You stopped breathing, your heart stopped, and you have to go to the hospital." And I'm like, still trying to understand. They're asking me where I live, and I'm like, Westchester. I don't even know that I live in Connecticut. I was like, it was like a nightmare. Like, I didn't know what was going on. I thought I was in trouble because I saw my dad, which is unpack that trauma for another time. Like, I was like, what did I do? What did I do wrong? My dad's here and the police are here. I did something, right? I'm like, this isn't good. And he's telling me, like, you had a seizure. So what happened was I had a grand mal seizure. I blacked out, essentially. Like, I fell to the ground. I went rigid. I was seizing, and I stopped breathing, and my lips started turning blue. And when I started turning blue, he started to give me CPR. And that's when he started to like do compressions. And then from there, like he, got me breathing again. And then I started foaming at the mouth. So then he was like doing the Heimlich maneuver. And mind you, like the whole time, like I dropped to the ground. So he had turned around and I was falling, like just dropping. I fell onto the coffee table, and he thought I was joking, which I was like, why would I joke about this? Like, like what would be funny about this? But he like, he was like, he said it was like a surreal experience. Like, he was just like, what is going on? And they took me in the ambulance. When I was in the ambulance, I finally recognized my house. I was like, oh, that looks familiar. I think I live there. Like, I was like, I don't know. And I was really concerned with where my daughter was, like, during it. That was like the only thing that I understood. Like, I knew that I had a daughter. I knew her name was Arya, and I didn't want her seeing like what had happened. And thankfully she didn't. My parents were there. And yeah, they took me to the hospital, and they have no idea what caused it. Like, no clues, gave me CT scans, like, and then sent me on my way, and there's no answers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we believe it's like an energy. Like, what I saw was like a power surge break, like a power outage. And like you are, and I think I had said to you right before, you're like the connector of everything. What I saw was this power outage, just like a blackout. And I had seen you in the center, almost like this web. And I don't know if anybody ever watched L Word, but they made like Alice made like the web of like women, because like it as a in the gay world and lesbian world, like everybody winds up hooking up with everybody else, and so there's always like a center person. So like that's actually what I saw, but obviously you're not gay, so that wasn't the thing. But you're like that in the spiritual world. If we have the spiritual web, Amanda's like in the middle, and you branch out, and she like somehow is connected to everybody, and like not even just like people we know, but like deities and goddesses and this cosmic realm, the Pleiadians, the Lyrians, like you are just this source. So you're getting energy from everywhere. And like, I saw that you just like took too much in, and it was just like a complete shutdown. And like, obviously you have to go get medically checked out. We live in the 3D. We're not saying like, oh, everything just has like an energetic spiritual cause, which I do believe, but it doesn't mean that there's not something medical going on, that there can't be like help with medicine, but that is exactly what I saw, was this just like web of you being in the middle. And it was just like, you took on too much energy. And then it kept saying energy hygiene, energy hygiene. You need to take care of your energy. And, I think anybody bringing in that amount of energy from cosmically, you channel from a different realm, you are taking on when you're doing your, like, I don't want to call it kundalini, because it's not like really what, like, it is a part of what you do, but just like your whole process, you're channeling, you're doing breath work, you're tapping into like up here in you. So it's just like that one thing could be enough to shut you down, and you're getting it from everywhere.
100%. And to your point, realizing over the past couple of weeks that what I'm doing is activating this celestial DNA with people, activating this DNA that people have, and doing this pretty powerful stuff to other people and also with myself, it makes so much sense. Like, it was a burnout, like it was a fry out moment. And I think that that's why energetic hygiene is so important, but also so is nervous system work, to be able to hold the energy. I think that this is really, really where the physical and the spiritual meet, right? Because I really think that, like, it's not all physical, and the science and the doctors will say it's all physical. You know, they'll say, okay, you know, you didn't sleep, you didn't eat, you know, I had been up a few nights, but like, I mean, I had a newborn. If I was going to have a seizure from not sleeping, I would have had one already. Like, I literally have never slept my whole life. I've had insomnia. I'm like, give me a break. You know, that makes no sense. So, you know, that's what they're going to say. And then, you know, then there's the other side of it where, you know, we do believe it's energetic and it's spiritual. And I do fully subscribe to that. But we, to your point, are in physical bodies. So the physical body is manifesting what the spiritual and the energetic body is trying to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that disconnect is where dis-ease manifests in the body. This is why people who do this work have chronic pain. It's why they have chronic illnesses. You know, it's kind of like, it's an initiation in a lot of ways because it brings people to this work. But also, when you're timeline jumping and you're doing crazy energetic stuff all the time, your physical body has to catch up.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're probably in like a million places at once, right?
Yeah, I'm literally walking between the realms on a regular basis. I have no idea where I am half the time. And I don't know. And I wonder, and I don't know what comes to you about with this, but like, I don't know. I mean, the closer that I've gotten to the truth, the more nervous I am that maybe I'm not supposed to know something that I'm discovering, that we're discovering in regards to creation.
So, ooh, chills all over my body. So there's something coming in. To me, that signals a past life. And I think I said to you, like the Russian who we talked about like a few weeks ago, the Russian poet who was chained. And I think I saw that either the night before or the day after for you, where this guy, like, I think he healed something and he was let go. I believe that was part of what happened to you too, is that he was seen for who he was, but he was held back by chains. Like, and you during like this lifetime wrote a contract, like, I will never be heard or seen because that's not safe, you know? And I think he is one of them that was a truth speaker, whether it was through art or just like standing and protesting. A lot of them did that. But I think their art was a protest in itself. So I think for you, part of what you do is artistic, right? Like it's creating something and it's really creative. And I think it's about uncovering truth. So I think there is this past life that's holding you back still. And maybe that's something you need to work on, just accepting, like, I am safe now, even though your body is telling you maybe like we're not safe. Like, you have to overcome it. And I'm not saying like go into seizures every time, like we don't want that happening, but you have to figure out a way to channel and do everything you're doing, because there is truth coming out. But I do at the same time think as you get closer to the truth and uncovering it and being able to speak it, you're going to hit resistance, because why was it hidden in the first place? It's not just coming from you from this past life. There's a reason this truth exists and it's not out there.
Exactly. And I think that, you know, we're also talking. I have to move, Beth. Okay, so even with now, I'm realizing how difficult it is for us to even record this, makes me feel like this whole thing about discovering the truth. I don't know if I'm creating this fear, but I think to your point, lifetimes, yes, where I was persecuted for telling the truth, where you were persecuted for telling the truth, because this is a journey we're on together. This is not an Amanda only journey, and we've dragged Jarena into it as well. So like she's also involved. So we're like all, but I do have a lot of fear, and that's past life fear. But we're also talking about the discovery of, you were talking about creation and artistry, and it's like, we're talking about stories about creating life. That's where we are going back to. We're going back to the Sumerians, we're going back to the Anunnaki, and we're talking about the creation story and our role and connection to that story and changing the narrative on that story. And that's big, earth-shattering stuff, I think.
Yes. And of course, it was like glitching the entire time you're saying.
I feel like I'm not allowed to say these things for some reason. I don't understand. I mean, it has to be more than just past life stuff. For some reason, they're making this very, very hard for me. And I have to say too, you know, anyone that is working on a project or feeling called to do something, I am channeling the book that we've talked about numerous times. And I feel like they're like making my life, they're like, just work on the book. And I'm like, I need to work on other things too. And they're like, just work on the book. They don't want me to do anything else. They're making everything so difficult.
Right. Well, and also we channeled that you were left behind, or you weren't left behind, but you like snuck out from this mass exit when you were part of the Anunnaki, right? And you were hiding here, and it's almost like because you're speaking up, you were found, and they're trying to mess with you because you know the truth about something. You have the ability to like uncover the truth about this, and they are literally like trying to stop you every chance you get when you start to talk about it. And it's just kind of crazy. Like, we've never had glitch issues on here, but this one, we're all of a sudden having this crazy like technology like blip and glitch going on.
Right. And then there's like people in the background. It's so loud all of a sudden. Like everywhere I go, they're like blowing leaves.
They're trying to distract you. They're distracting you from the truth.
Yes, and we've said that numerous times too, that there's always distractions coming up. It's like, it reminds me of like when someone's trying to talk and like a horn keeps going off every time they're saying something important. Like, why are these people blowing leaves today while I'm speaking?
I don't know. That's crazy though. And it's like never happened before.
Oh, it's never happened before. And I'm so sorry for anyone that's listening, because it feels like pushing through the resistance feels important. And that's also part of the struggle, is like, I feel like they're trying to challenge me to be like, how bad do you want this? Like, how bad do you guys really want to know what is happening? How bad do you really want to know the truth? And, you know, right before I had the seizure, I forgot to add this part. I had been going back and forth with my guides about this information, and they were saying to me, there's things you're not ready to know. There's things you're not ready to see. And I spoke out loud, and I remember the way that I said it, because I kind of like tried to make it like cash. And I was like, I'm ready. Let's do it. Let's just super cash, like with the shoulder shrug. And then like an hour later, I'm like seizing on the floor. And like, it's that, there's no coincidence to that. They're like, if you want to be able to hold this energy, if you want to do this work, if you want to know these things, you need to go through this shamanic initiation, energetic initiation, whatever it is. That's what I'm starting to understand. Like, it was, yes, a burnout, but also like a purposeful awakening, death, and I mean, it was literally a death and rebirth.
Yeah. And you said to me, like, you said the exact same words as when you said you were ready for this years ago, you know, and then you lost your job, and then you got COVID, and it was like this forced rest for you to be prepared for what was to come, and you couldn't have anticipated it. And I have a feeling it's going to be the exact same thing. Like, you cannot anticipate what is about to be dropped, like a truth bomb. And I actually just posted, that's really funny, I just posted on my page, like, truth is being revealed. And I think this is to prepare you for this truth that is coming through, and it'll probably come through me for you too. And it's fun. Of course. And like, I have been having these like crazy revelations this like week about what's happened to me in the past, seeing things from different perspectives. So my own truth has been coming through. Like people I thought I saw a certain way, veil lifted, and it's shattering. And like I shattered in a completely like introspective internal way, and yours was physical and external. And it's just like the different ways that this presents of like, I love what you said where spirituality meets like physicality basically,
Yeah.
you know, and it's so true. It's like when we're signing up for this and I keep being like, I'm ready for this too. I really want this. And it's like, okay, we're going to shatter your worldview and like how you thought about everything. And they're like, we're going to shatter your body.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like, it makes so much sense because it's like your current views, the way you see people, the way you see the world, that cannot be the version of you that knows the things, holds the things, does the things that you want to do. And it's the same thing for me physically. It's like my physical body, past version prior to this, couldn't come with me to where I am going. And I do feel like it's so fascinating because I do feel different. Like I feel different in different ways. Like I almost feel like I am not what's the word I'm looking at? I was going to say quieter, but that's not the case, but more like subdued and maybe less feeling like I need to get external attention. Do you know what I mean? Like not that I'm not really like an attention getter, but like I don't know, I feel more solid in myself and my journey to like be able to now like rest, write my book, like focus on the things and not worry so much about like the content and the social media and the external and like, you know, I don't know.
I mean, that sounds to me like you're more focused and confident and trust. I think what you did was built trust within yourself. Like there was this trust that like I got you. Like you went through this death, an actual death, and you're still here. So trust me, you surrendered. That's what it is. It's a surrendering to the universe and to source and to yourself of like the highest version of yourself that I trust you that you're going to keep me safe and that I'm going to follow your path and like whatever's coming through is meant for a reason and I don't have to worry about how it's going to come, but I just need to keep doing and I don't care what other people say, what other people feel, what other people want. It really needs to come from within. And I think that was a struggle you were having and it was like this letting go.
Yeah. And I was also really struggling with my relationships as well leading up to this. And I was really struggling, similar to you, like feeling like the wool was being pulled out from my eyes, like out from covering my eyes. And I felt like I was seeing people for who they truly are, seeing situations, and even feeling some resistance in some of my relationships that have now shifted. Like, I will say, and this is like totally like, you know, listen, things happen for a reason. This is like a knock on wood situation, but like it has completely shifted my marriage. And like I could get emotional talking about it. You know, we were kind of in this place where like things were like, well, I'm doing all this energetic and all this spiritual work. Are you going to join me on this journey? Or, you know, are you, you know, not? And I mean, my husband, I mean, Rob saved my life. And the way he's looking at me now and the way I'm looking at him now is on this deeper connected level. And not that we needed a seizure to get there, but like it happened, you know, it shifted our relationship and our marriage.
Well, it's like your marriage up leveled as well.
Yes. And my relationship with my parents, like everything has gone through this like up level. And, you know, I don't think that things need to be done so drastically. I think it's part of my role, and I think your role as well here, like as we're guiding people through these things, is to try to help people do stuff safety. But I always know, because I am me, my journey always has to be super intense and aggressive, unfortunately. And there is safety in that for me, but that's always been I never follow everyone else's path, neither do you. We go our own way.
Yeah. And in our own time. And I think yours is super fast and intense. And but that's just like how you are. Like,
Yeah.
you know, not in a bad way, in a good way. Like, you are like, I remember talking with Yolandi. I'm like, I'm not Amanda. Like, and I would like compare myself to you. And I'm like, she like literally says something and it's a business the next day. Like, and it's branded. It's like known already. Like, people are talking about it. And I'm like, I had an idea. Like, you know, but my life has always been slow and steady and comes later than everything. And it's frustrating, but that's something I've accepted recently. And I think it's good like in certain situations for you, but I think with this spiritual energy, like taking an energy, they're like, you need to pull back a little bit and see where you can pull back when you're doing really intense energy work. How do you protect yourself? Because it leaves you so vulnerable.
Yeah. And I think that energetic hygiene in those situations, I think is just going to be so key going forward. Like, I do think that that's so important for everyone that's doing this work in general. And, you know, I have no patience. And, you know, it's a blessing and a curse because, yes, I can create something overnight, but then I also get so frustrated if things aren't immediately successful. Like, to me, like somebody said this to me once, they were like, you will launch something. And then if it's not immediately like an overnight success, you're like, it's a failure, on to the next thing, close the book. And like, that's just not how the 3D works. But I am used to kind of stepping in and out of these different timelines.
Right.
And I learn lessons aggressively. Like, I have to get hit with a ton of bricks, unfortunately. I'm hoping this is the heaviest of it and that there's a big shift that comes from this and that there's not another moment that needs to happen like seizure wise, because I can't do that again.
No. But you also said something to me yesterday that was really important because I was like, they're literally yelling at you to rest. And you're like, I guess I have to listen. And I think this is what happens when we don't listen. You know, my worst moments in life, like when it manifested in disease and when it manifested in like trauma, is because I was not listening. Like, I had messages coming through and like I knew the answer to like the things I was like asking or the I guess what I didn't realize I was channeling at the time, you know, like when I'd say like when I was in the closet or something, you know, and I was so afraid to come out and I was just like, let me just like avoid it at all costs. It's like really bad stuff happened because I was not being myself. I was not living in an authentic way. And like I believe because I, you know, experienced those things because I wasn't being who I really was, it manifested in depression. Like, you know, when I wasn't listening to myself of what I really wanted to do, it always comes out in depression. It always comes out in severe anxiety. And it's like, we just need to listen and do it. And I don't know what the resistance is. I think probably fear and probably from past lives, maybe ancestral. You know, I know for me it's ancestral. I know it's past lives where I've been hunted down. I mean, I remember that one life where we were like, you were going into my past life. You're like, you're in the middle of a square.
Oh my God.
And you did not want to say it. And I knew exactly what you're going to say because we were seeing the exact same thing. I'm like, just say it. And you're like, they're yelling at you, Jew. And I'm like, I knew you were going to say that. You know, but it's just like that fear is still in me that if I'm seen, if I people know who I really am, and it doesn't matter what identity you are. It's like it could be just being a witch or being a psychic or being someone who's a truth speaker. You know, being seen is a scary thing, but if we listen, yeah, maybe we go through hard things, but we're living authentically and we are meant to do it. And it's just figuring out, like going back to one of our first episodes, how do we know something's for us? Your body will tell you. And your body was telling you, you need to get like this stuff clearer. You need to start listening. You need to start taking care of yourself. And when you listen, you're going to be in such a better position. I doubt you'll have one again. I don't want to say never, but I really think this was an energetic like power outage.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 1000% correct. I think, you know, you don't want these things to happen. But then I'm always grateful in hindsight that they happened, right? You know, because there is an upgrade, there is this change and this forced rest. I mean, I had wrote down a couple days prior to this, like, again, I probably wrote this down so many times in my life, but like, you cannot achieve a feminine life that's in flow and do that with masculine tendencies or masculine way. And that doesn't mean male and female. It means if you want to be in flow and you want things to be easeful and, you know, all of that, then you can't put structure to it and strategy and like push so hard.
And I think one of the first tests you had was, I think I suggested, I'm like, let's do the podcast just like really flowy, like see what comes in. And you're like, oh, I'm used to like structuring it. But like you weren't like resistant, but you're like, oh, I just like never did it that way. And I think this is really good practice for you because I think our stuff is so good because it's so in the moment, it's so natural, and it's really, we're channeling what's coming through.
I mean, I hope that everyone enjoys us doing it that way, but it's what makes us different and what makes us unique. And I always do my best work when I am just going with the flow. And that's when I'm the most creative. But then I overthink things and then I start to get in my head and then I put systems on stuff and then that's when it gets crazy.
Yeah. But it doesn't mean that you don't need systems. Like you absolutely do. I think it's just like when it's coming in, I think it's a balance, right? And what was that word? I remember harmony. I forget what it was, something with like therapy, but they're like, we want to be in harmony, not even necessarily balance, but harmony. How do you allow the masculine to come in when it's needed, but have the feminine there to harness it? I can see you're distracted, but here's the other test.
The guy is right here. I'm going to punch this guy in the face. It's the test.
This is the test. Okay.
I'm also getting so angry. I don't know why I'm so angry about it.
Okay. Why do you think you're angry?
I'm so frustrated. Because I'm just like, go away, sir.
Well, I think you just want something to go right, you know? It feels like everything's up in the air. And it's like, I'm trying to do my freaking podcast. Like, can you just like, universe, can you just like let me have this moment?
Yes,
right?
Just give me some fucking peace. Like, I can't. Like, it's so crazy. And, you know, it's funny too. This is the first weekend that I am without my daughter. She's in Long Island. So, like, I finally quiet and like the space to be able to do certain things. Like, I wanted to record meditations and I wanted to do this and write and do all these things. And it's like, yes, it does feel like there's a lot of distractions. And I think that that makes it challenging to be in flow. And I also think, like, to your point about harmony, when we're listening to what our guides and what the universe is trying to tell us, that's when we really are in a place of harmony and flow when we're listening. So it doesn't have to yell at us, right? So to be like, you have to rest. And if you're not going to rest, you now have a seizure, right? It's the same thing with having Lyme and chronic illness for me all those years ago. Like, I was so fried from work. I never was going to take a break unless I had an actual reason to.
Right. Totally. And mine, I think, came because I just like wasn't being honest with myself and I was hiding something. And that's part of what like came up for me this week is I was carrying secrets for so long and like carrying that
secrets.
Yeah. You know, and I they weren't true, but I believed they were. And it's just like this cognitive distortion that you're like, oh my God, like I believe this about myself and I carry it. I can't let anybody know. So it takes so much more energy to show up as someone else than you actually are and have this conversation inside. And I've been having a lot of conversations inside and I'm like, that's not mine to hold anymore. And I think that's why it caused so much disease because I had to stop. I just kept going. So I could avoid this secret so I could avoid how I really felt about myself. And then when I stopped, I was forced. It was in my face. It was like COVID too. I had to face certain things. And now like this week is so representative of that. I faced certain things that just like cannot come with me on the next part of this chapter of this next book I'm going into, right? So and it's so funny because when you said that and the anger came out, like the sound died down, you know, and it wasn't because you put it on mute. And I think what they were saying is this distraction is really representative of how distracting your overthinking is, of how you were trying too hard, and you need to just let it out. You need to let out your frustration. You need to be really having an outlet for all your stuff. And that's part of the energetic hygiene too, is when you feel frustrated, you know, oh, it's starting up again. And I think it's just this thing of like, how do I get rid of the clutter? And I think the finding out of that is how you are going to be able to have more channeled in a more healthy way.
I think also that makes a ton of sense. And I think back to the point about earlier about focusing on the book and having them really want me to focus on writing the book, you know, because we've been talking about it for a long time, that this book has been something that I've been channeling for a while. And I kind of will put it on the back burner because I have blocks to completing it. And I know that they want me to focus on that. And I do tend to create a lot of distractions to prevent myself from doing what I truly feel called to do. And I think a lot of us do that. And what came up for me before with distractions and preventing ourselves from stepping into our truth and who we are and secrets, the witch wound, right? The witch wound that so many of us have. And I talk to people about this all the time. And I always say, like, not everybody that has a witch wound was a witch in a previous life. It doesn't mean that you were in Salem or you were in the Burning Times. It doesn't mean that. Yeah. If you were an oracle and you were tortured, if you were a tarot reader, if you were a seer, if you were a herbalist, if you were any type of thing that was persecuted for being yourself, you carry that wound. And that wound manifests in this lifetime as preventing yourself from being seen. You know, I'll call it sometimes like an invisibility cloak from Harry Potter. Like you actually hide yourself because you are afraid that if you speak your truth, if you show up as exactly who you are, you will be tortured, you will be persecuted, you will be locked up.
Absolutely. You know, and even a poet. So, you know, I think you have a lot of them, and that might be why it's so intense too, because I think every single lifetime you were someone who was a truth seeker and truth teller. And that's a lot of energy in itself to process and to, you know, hold on to. And I think we do hold on to from past lives, and it's about letting it go, but in a healthy way. And I think that is exactly why things come in crumbs, right? And we get little pieces of it, because if we got it all at once, I think we'd all die. So
I think that that's 100% true. I think there's probably been a compounding of lifetimes, and I have seen a lot of them. I really, I have seen a lot of them. I have brought a lot of them to the surface. A lot of them have to do with religion. A lot of them have to do with burning times. I've seen lifetimes where you and I were hung next to each other, you know, for speaking our truth, for gathering. I mean, women were tortured just for gathering. And I think what we're learning too from these creation stories, the origin stories, is learning that we spend the rest of our lifetimes hiding. And I feel like I have been hiding in almost every lifetime since that early Sumerian Anunnaki experience. And I've been hiding myself in these other lifetimes. And then it's almost like in every single lifetime, and I'm saying this is channeled because I don't know where this is coming from, but it's like every single lifetime there's a pinnacle point that is reached where I cannot go any further without my being who I am. Like, I think it comes to a pinnacle point, and I'm either gonna die or I'm going to express it, right? Like, I think I feel that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I think and this also came up like today, is we're breaking cycles this lifetime, and you're breaking the cycle. You are going to go forward and it's not going to stop you, and they're not going to stop you. You've revealed yourself. You've taken off your cloak of invisibility. So you are out there. You're really vulnerable in so many ways. And I think they've spotted you and they're trying to stop you. And I think that's also why maybe some of these, it is why these past lives you made those contracts, because it was also someone pulling the strings, right?
Mhm.
So they're like, we're going to have her this experience so she stops herself. And that's also channeled. My legs are really tingling.
Yeah.
So,
and it's protection too,
yes.
right? Like, I mean, we also are protecting ourselves. And so when we clear these contracts, there's a piece of it where you're like acknowledging, thank you for protecting me all this time. Thank you for hiding me. Thank you for keeping me safe. I no longer need you. I no longer need that. It is safe here in this lifetime to express these things. And listen, it doesn't always feel that way with social media, with the media in general. Like, I mean, it doesn't always feel safe to be who you are, but
Right.
it's a lot safer than it was, in the 1700s, I guess.
Well, now we're talking about emotional safety versus physical
Yeah.
safety, which can turn into physical danger, right? When you're emotionally dysregulated to a point where you can't function. But I think that's that's a lot of the work you've been doing. And I think I said it to you this week, like why you had those experiences with going viral and having people say hateful things and you learning to like tune it out, is you're going to be on a much grander scale. And the hate is going to come towards you because you're shaking things up. You are shaking up a truth that people are going to second guess everything they believe, because once they hear it, they can't unhear it. They can't see things the same way. And you're going to start questioning everything. And people don't like to be uncomfortable. And that's a really uncomfortable process to go through.
It is. It is. And, stepping into being comfortable with that, I think when I went viral, I think I went viral not for being myself. And that was
Mm-hmm.
really challenging for me. As you know, I really struggled following that because I wasn't intending for that to happen, and
Right.
it happened, and I'm grateful for it because it enabled me to be able to work for myself, right? Like that
Mm-hmm.
really is how I'm able to do the work that I do. But I really struggled with it because I was like, be famous for something that I didn't do regularly, or like it wasn't like the thing that my purpose, right, essentially, or
Mm-hmm.
being myself. I thought about it today as I was getting dressed for this, like, to be on video, and I like threw on a band tee, and I was like, this is who I am. Like, this is me. Like, I am,
Mm-hmm.
I am not dressed up all the time. I am not like, I am just done with the pretenses. And I think it was a lesson for me to go viral, but now it's like any acknowledgement, any notoriety that comes, I hope is coming for the right reasons, because then I can defend it more.
Right.
Like I can defend this is who I am, take it or leave it,
Right. Well, I think and like you said, you cared more about what other people thought. And I think now it's just like, as long as I'm like living, I can be okay with what I say, what I do, how I show up. That's on them, and the Let Them by Mel Robbins has been coming up so much. It's like, let them think whatever they want. Let them say nasty stuff. We're going to do that protection where you put your golden orb around you. I'm going to put myself in oil and let it slide right off. See ya. Like, you can do whatever you want and stress yourself out, and whatever you're angry about that you're ignoring, you can project towards me. I'm not going to let you get to me. is really what it is.
Yeah. And so many people have those feelings, and it triggers their own wounds, their own repression, their own lifetimes of trauma. And it's so funny, like when I think about it too, it's like, okay, while that's going on and these people are so angry, like I'm like on TikTok, like reading about like a fantasy book about dragons, like I'm reading like Fourth Wing, I'm like on book talk, I'm like totally in a different place, you know. It's like, okay, so you know, you're spending your time hating people who like are not even like, they don't, you know, there's no point. Like I am not judging anybody. I don't judge anyone. And it's like, I feel like what people think of me is not my business. Like, whatever.
It's not for you to hold. It's not yours. It's like others' energy. And they think maybe too is that you're purging some of that you held on to before.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think collectively, this huge shift in energy that happened. I mean, we're also between eclipses, right? The other one is Saturday, the spring equinox that happened Thursday. And I noticed a shift in you as well. And I had asked you, I think it was Saturday or maybe Friday or Saturday, I asked you, I'm like, do you feel a lot more energy coming in, a lot more messages? Because I noticed that you were feeling blocked for a while and you were like in the dark. And then I felt like what I saw was like a flood, like the floodgates open and like a flood of info coming through.
I mean, I channeled for 4 hours straight. And you know what's so funny is something from that and what from yours, I haven't fully like dug into yours and Jarena's notes yet, but you both brought up a war. And I think it's the war on truth, but I think it's also this digital warfare, which we've never experienced before. But that's exactly like what we were talking about. It's this angry projection. It's an energy warfare. And it's like, how do we protect our energy and not allow these like digital like hijackers to hijack our energy, right? And like and when we model that we don't let other people get to us, especially in that digital space, we're creating peace and love and like this calmness, and that again, like the truth and you modeling that is going to bring up for other people this discomfort, all their past stuff, and it's their job to work on it. It's not your job to take it on. But I think that's part of the war that you guys were bringing up and part of what you're here to give a message on.
Yes. And there is a war, to your point, there is a war for the human consciousness and the mind. And that is happening within the media. It's happening within the food that we're eating. It's happening within the information that we're receiving. And learning how all of this is carefully constructed to control us, that opening for me has been really challenging and was really challenging, because you do look around, everything is like not what you thought. You're like, oh my God, you know, it's like coming out of, you know, the Matrix, realizing that it's the Matrix, right? That's really happening. And when I was channeling Friday night, the Arcturians came to me, who are a celestial group, and they pulled me by the wrist and they were like taking me down this like shoreline. And again, they were like, are you ready? And I was like, I'm ready. And they were like, let's go. And they grabbed me and they pulled me down and they brought me to this war. And I was like on a battleground and I was watching this fighting going on. And there is like, and this keeps coming to me channeled like repeatedly with clients, like there is a universal war happening for human minds, and like we're in the thick of it. And that's why it's so important that people are waking up right now to do their truth and to do their work, because it's easy to just get controlled by social media and the media and just do what everybody wants. Like that's easy, right? Like that's safe, but it's not safe to be like, this is not okay, and stand against it.
Well, so you're battling this safety of the collective versus safety within yourself. And like your biggest weapon against this is actually vulnerability and being able to be introspective, being able to hold like the truth of who you really are, what you're here to do, where am I not in alignment, because that leaves me more vulnerable to be controlled. That leaves me more vulnerable to go fit in when what I really need is to belong first to myself and then to the collective. Right. And that's why you have so much virtue signaling. You have so much like, I just want to be the good person. And I don't know that people, I mean, I think everybody believes in, I hope, that like we want to treat people well, we like diversity, we want to be inclusive, but it's not like discernment. It's just like someone says this and we have to go along with it. Like, that's why you have mob mentality online. That's why you get shamed and canceled. And it's just like we don't think for ourselves anymore. And part of thinking for ourselves is getting really in tune with who we are. What from a past life is coming up that is trying to teach me a lesson right now? And how do I work through that? How do I release this old trauma and step into who I really am? And then it's like everything we've talked about, like that Russian doll in the chrysalis or chrysalis, I don't know how you say it. So like we keep cocooning and like coming out, and that is how we protect ourselves, is stepping into who we are and stepping into our gifts and accepting who we are and not caring so much about the other, what anybody else thinks, because true belonging is really being accepted for who you are.
Yes. And just to build on that, that's also how you call in your true friends, right? Your true tribe, your true people. And it's the same thing for anybody who wants to do this type of work, calling in your clients, calling in your people. They can't find you unless you're being you. And that's what makes you become unshakable, when you step into who you truly are. And it is scary, but we dehumanize people on the internet, and I wish that people would realize that, like, behind computer, like, they're people that are creating this content, that are doing these things. Like, so you're canceling a human being. Like, you would never do. I hope people wouldn't do in person what they do over the computer. I mean, it's just like,
God. Well, you have courage there because it's not in person. But it's also like there's such entitlement online. Like someone gives and gives and gives, and it's never good enough. Right. And it's just also, and maybe that's where the masculine and the feminine is like not being balanced. Maybe in this space, it needs to be harmonized as well. Right. Of how do we have harmony here so it can be used as a tool for good? Because I do believe the digital space and social media can be used for so much good, like what we're doing now, right? Like,
yeah, it can be so informational. It can be so supportive. It can make you feel not alone. You can learn so many things. So it does have its purpose and its role, and we do have the ability to learn things and understand and share things that we couldn't in any other time period, essentially. And I think it's just, again, like, just really coming into yourself, coming out of the darkness and being like, this is who I am. And that's it. Like, I think it's just standing strong in that, and just being unshakable in the storm, because there's always a storm.
right.
And
But even if you are shaken and you fall down, you can get back up, and it's this resilience, and it's figuring out, okay, what didn't work there? How can I be more supported next time? Which is exactly what happened to you, like, and I think it's just like, okay, now I need to learn from this. Like, that was a horrible experience. I don't need to go through that again. But what can I do to support myself? How can I listen so that they don't need to send me such a strong message? And there's the light in the darkness, right? Is finding yourself, is figuring it out.
And I feel like it was a message and a confirmation too. Like, a confirmation that this is all happening, because you start to feel a little bit crazy. And, I think I trust more now, because I'm like, okay, I came back for a reason, right? There was a choice. And so for me, the things I'll be focusing on going forward is My cat's coming in. My cat has been all over me constantly. And you know how they say that cats protect you in the spiritual realm? Like she is like making sure we're good. So that's one thing. But like, you know, making sure I have that aura around me, making sure that I close out my sessions. We talked about other things you can do, like taking a shower after you do a lot of energy work, like just really focusing on nourishment and true rest, which is the hardest thing in the world for me. Like I can't stop working. I need to,
Right.
and I need to do that. And that's, yeah, I mean, forced rest this week, taking this whole week off essentially was like, well,
Right. And when you know you have like a heavy load, where can I reduce it somehow? Maybe you can reschedule. It's not to say stop working forever, right? It's more like, where can I pull back a little bit?
yeah. And it gave me pause too to, you know, evaluate, what do I want my life and my business to look like? What do, you know, like, what do I really want? What do I really enjoy? What are the things I really want to flourish? And coming out of that, like really thinking about that a lot this week has shifted maybe where I was putting my energy or what I was doing. And so that also was another realization for me, because I was like, wait a second, if this is what I want, why am I focusing on this? You know? And so I think that was a key piece too.
Because there is such clarity in the pause, whether it's forced or intentional. You know, I think the idea is to be intentional. So doing check-ins with yourself. You know, I'm trying to break this habit of eating late night because it's like it literally is the only thing that puts me to sleep. And so I'm like trying, instead of watching TV, I am trying to meditate. And so if I like pause and I'm like, okay, I can't just go to the eating, I need to do things, so I disrupt. But in the pause, I am learning so much about myself. I'm like, oh, it's not actually this that's making me feel this way, it's this. So it's like when you and I'm really forcing myself to do these check-ins, because I'm like, I want to stop this. If I do the exact same thing, that's like insanity, right? You can't expect change. So with these forced pauses that are very intentional, they make me feel uncomfortable, but I learned so much. It reveals so much. So there's so much clarity in pausing. It doesn't mean stopping forever. It just means pausing. So like for me, the pause is, okay, I'm going to meditate, then see how I feel. I'll let myself eat. And then, but after that, I'm like, do I really want to eat, or can I just do this one more thing? Can I journal how I'm feeling? Right? So much comes out in that. And with you, it's like, if you just stop and rest, you say, where was I putting my energy? What do I really want to do? Am I putting my energy there? What are the things I need to do to actually harmonize? I think that's another theme of this. It's like harmonizing.
The title of this episode is going to be harmonizing, which comes back to music, which always comes back to sound and music and vibration. But yeah, no, I think that that's 100%. I think it's everything working in harmony together, and it's all the things, and listening to your soul and your physical body and bringing them together, and, you know, coming out on the other side of that. And, you know, I do, you know, feel pretty confident that it's not going to be, that I'm not going to have another intense episode like that, because I just don't think it's necessary, hopefully. You know, it's like, just, I hope not. We'll knock on wood, but, you know, we'll see. But it was purposeful. And I think that that's part of this journey, is taking the experiences, taking the cues, taking the signs, taking all of it. And it's what you do with it that matters. You know, I could let this become a huge thing, right? And it could be my identity, and I could now be like Amanda Nova seizures.com, which, like, I mean, I do know everything now about seizures. Let's face it. I am me, world's known expert on seizures in this past week. But I have gotten to a point where I don't need to, like, then that's like not my like mission in life, is not like now to like heal seizures, right? Because that's like where I would usually go. So, you know, it's like what you do with what happens that, you know, really tells like who you are and who you're meant to be.
Totally. And learning from experience is, and I feel like there's always a nugget no matter how horrible it is. And it's okay if you can't do it like right after, but at least like when you can reflect, there is something so insightful about it that is you're going to carry with you forever. So it's not wasted. I don't wish a lot of the things that happened to me, but I also wouldn't change them because I wouldn't be who I am, you know? And I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. So I'm grateful in that way that I took something from it and didn't let it destroy my life completely.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't have to do it alone. And I think that that's like, you know, a really good, you know, place for us to wrap up. You know, we are here. We have gone through different things, emotional, physical, mental, you know. So if you do need that support, reach out to Beth or I, you know, come do a one-on-one, get guided, receive mentorship, and you know, just realize that you don't have to do it without support. I am so grateful because I have you, and you like, you know, keep me sane through all of this. I mean, we're both going insane together, but
Right.
relatively sane. And I'm so fortunate that I have had that support. And if you don't have support, it can be really dark and scary inside that chrysalis. So I just bring somebody in there with you, and
Right.
you know, lean on the people that you can.
Right. And also, like, if you're stuck, like what you do gets you unstuck, you know? I think for me, like, you really moved me through a moment where I was like, hey, I don't even know if I'm in this chrysalis. Like, I know I'm in something, but like, what's going on? And that's supportive in like maybe not the same way as me, but it's still so supportive. And it really helps you to just uncover who you are, what you're doing here, and get some movement flowing, energy flowing. So I love that we can complement each other in what we do, and it's so supportive, it's so healing, but it's just so different, you know?
I'm laughing because it's so funny because as you're saying that, I'm just thinking, wow, what we do and how our gifts have manifested is exactly who we just described ourselves as we were going through this. I activate people and get them moving and you help them with integration and understanding things and unpacking them and like go doing these deep dives. And I mean, it gives me a massive chill. I mean, like we are doing exactly what we were meant to be doing, which is incredible.
We are. And I'm so happy we got here despite what we've been through.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So thank you so much for listening. And I'm so happy Amanda's here and okay right now. And let's all like give some energies that she stays that way. I mean, I put a blanket over the universe of protecting you. So.
Thank you so much, everyone, and everyone for the kind words and everything that the love everyone's been giving me. And yeah, reach out. We're here and we love you all. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks. Till next time.
Bye.